subscribe and hit the bell.
It was a crisp autumn evening, and Emily and I were cozied up on the couch, flipping through TV channels without finding anything that could hold our interest. I had this itch, this burning curiosity that I couldn't ignore any longer. I turned to Emily and said, "You know, Em, I've been thinking about something lately." She looked at me with a curious smile. "What's on your mind, John?" "I've always wondered about my family's history, our roots, you know? It's like this puzzle I've been carrying around in my mind for years," I confessed. Emily nodded, understanding the sentiment. She knew how much I admired my grandparents' stories about their ancestors, how their tales of resilience and adventure had fascinated me. "So, what do you want to do about it?" she asked. I hesitated for a moment, contemplating my next words carefully. "I saw this ad on Facebook the other day, about one of those DNA ancestry tests. You send in a sample, and they trace your genetic heritage, possibly connecting you with long-lost relatives." Emily's eyes lit up with curiosity, mirroring my own. "That sounds intriguing, John. Do you think it's something you'd like to try?" I could feel the excitement building within me as I replied, "Yeah, I think so. It could be a way to uncover a piece of my family history that we've never known before. Maybe even connect with distant relatives I never knew existed." Emily smiled warmly, taking my hand in hers. "That sounds like an incredible journey, John. If you're up for it, I'm right there with you." Her support meant the world to me. With Emily by my side, I felt emboldened to take this step, to embark on a journey of discovery. That evening, as we sat together, contemplating the possibilities, I made the decision to order that DNA test kit, and in doing so, I unknowingly set in motion a series of events that would change our lives in ways we couldn't have imagined. It felt like ages waiting for that DNA test result to arrive. The anticipation gnawed at me every day as I checked the mailbox, hoping the letter would finally come. Then, one sunny afternoon, it did. I was alone at home, and my hands trembled as I carefully opened the envelope that held the key to unraveling my genetic heritage. The report seemed like an innocent piece of paper, but it held a truth that I was entirely unprepared for. I scanned through the results, trying to make sense of the complex data, but there it was, plain as day, an unexpected match, a genetic connection with another man. I remember my heart pounding in my chest as I read and reread the words on that page, as if somehow, the message would change if I looked at it long enough. My mind raced. This couldn't be right. It had to be a mistake. A mix-up with the samples, perhaps. My thoughts spiraled into confusion and disbelief. I clutched the report, wondering how to break the news to Emily. How could I even begin to explain this startling discovery? As the sun's warm rays streamed through the window, I realized that my entire world had just shifted on its axis. The DNA test, meant to connect me with my roots and heritage, had instead unearthed a connection I could never have anticipated. A DNA mate, not a long-lost relative, but another man who shared my genetic code. My hands were still trembling as I picked up my phone, my fingers hesitating over the keypad. I knew that I had to tell Emily, but I was afraid of how she would react. Our lives were about to change in ways we couldn't have imagined, and there was no going back. The decision to take that DNA test had opened a door to a world of uncertainty and questions, and I had no idea how to navigate it. Telling Emily about the DNA test results was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. The knowledge of that shocking revelation weighed heavy on my shoulders, and I knew I couldn't keep it from her any longer. The evening sun cast a warm, golden glow through our living room window as I mustered the courage to sit down with Emily. Her presence was both reassuring and intimidating as I took a deep breath and began, "Emily, we need to talk." She turned towards me, her eyes filled with concern. "What's going on, John?" I could feel my heart racing as I handed her the envelope with the DNA test results. I received the DNA test report, I don't know how to say this, but it's not what we expected. Emily's brow furrowed in confusion as she opened the envelope and started reading the report. I watched her face closely, and as she reached the part that revealed the unexpected genetic connection, her eyes widened, and her jaw dropped in disbelief. She looked up at me, her voice quivering, "John, what does this mean? Another man? How is this possible?" I explained everything I knew, that it was not a relative, but a DNA mate. The room seemed to spin as we both struggled to process this bewildering revelation. Emily's emotions were a whirlwind, a mix of shock, confusion, and anger. She accused me of playing a cruel joke, but the sincerity in my voice and the look in my eyes told her this was all too real. The night was long, filled with tense discussions, heated arguments, and long periods of silence. We questioned the test's accuracy, we questioned each other's past, and we questioned our future together. Trust, which had always been the foundation of our relationship, seemed to crumble before our eyes. As we lay in bed that night, neither of us slept. Our marriage was now marked by a profound uncertainty, and the road ahead was daunting. I couldn't help but wonder if taking that DNA test had been a terrible mistake. Emily and I had always been a team, but now we were on opposite sides of a divide, and I had no idea how to bridge the gap or find answers to the many questions that haunted us.
Thank you so much for listening to this story, guys. Check out our other videos.